I want to first thank Ms. Maloney and Mr. Lukemeyer for the work that they've done on this, and I appreciate it, and I know how hard it is. I think part of it's my unique background. Not only did I start a small business in the government space with big data, I also have a small business in the manufacturing space with a distillery with massive reporting requirements. I'm also proud to be on the AI task force, and that came from my big data parsing, looking at actually how to merge multiple data sets to make sense out of what disparate data looks like, but also what type of activities, algorithms, machine learning, or AI we could apply for analysis. So when I look at this, I appreciate so much the problem that we have right now trying to come, not only for law enforcement to help them do what they need to do, but for small business and for banks. So here's some of the questions I have, and thank you, Mr. Tipton, about small businesses. I'm going to go through very quick what we have to do on the small business side already for reporting, and I'm going to go really quick on the issues that I have with any type of small business portal that has actually data effectively inserted into that small business portal. So I own a distillery. Not only do I have to report to the Tax and Trade Bureau under ATF through an OOI or background check every single dollar that I have, my operating agreement percentages of operators, every time we actually change that operating agreement, I also have to do that with the SEC, the State Corporation Commission for the state of Virginia, which is pretty redundant. I actually update my ops agreement at all times based on any type of ownership that I have to do. Not only that, I have to report to the Virginia ABC any type of change in my ownership structure, just like I have to change to the Virginia TTB and also to the SEC. And if you can see, I have a lot of acronyms I'm rolling out right now. After that, I have federal and state audits. All those audits actually look if I'm actually reporting the right ownership management that I have on that. So when Mr. Tipton says $83,000, my first year regulatory cost was $250,000. Also, when you look at our IRS reporting that we have to do, not only do we have our business tax returns, we have K-1s to every single business owner that we have out there. We also have 1065s. We're looking at my tax return right now for a business that did about, in sales out the front door between, I don't know, $1.5 to $3 million just on sales out of our distilleries. My tax return is about 80 pages long. So the question I have as a small business, if we're going to do actually portal inject, into FinCEN, is why aren't we having data scrubbing and authorities going on between agencies that already have all this data, rather than the small business actually injecting data that could actually conflict with what they're doing based on the basis they might not even understand what their revenue is, because here's the other issue. If you have revenue issues, you have completely different types of revenues based on service, manufacturing, and inventory build. I could actually count inventory, I can actually count revenue as my inventory growth based on the amount of bourbon that I have in my distillery, which is taxed revenue, even though I couldn't sell that revenue based on the fact that it's actually gaining sort of value while it's sitting there roasting in the barrels and making that delicious chocolate bourbon we're so famous for. So as we're going forward with this, my question is, if we're looking at the small business side, now you turn to actually the data side, and here's where it gets actually scary. When I'm looking at what we're doing, everything that I've done in my life has been, actually for the last 15 years, trying to build big data structures to go after terrorists. My company actually supported OFAC and the Department of Treasury for Follow the Money. But not only that, we had to combine 7 different agencies to 8 different agencies in data to go after terrorists. So when you're starting to look at the type of data issues that are going to have, the first question you're going to ask about this as a small business owner, is my data encrypted at rest, or is it encrypted in transit, or is it encrypted both? How big is the size standard? How expensive is it going to be? Is there metadata tagging? What are the attributes and nodes that we're actually going to be looking at if we're doing this? What is the form going to look like, right? If this form is standardized on all small businesses, is it small businesses in the service sector? Is it small businesses in the manufacturing sector? Is it small businesses in the cyber data sector? What's that form going to look like? How are you going to report those revenues? Are those revenues shielded? Who has access to that? What is the competitive distance that you put between yourself and your other competitors if somebody wrong sees that data? Not only that, and this gets crazy, what are the authorities? Who's doing the machine learnings and the AI for the other agencies that are collecting this data? What is are there going to be eyebrow teams that are looking at the open source intelligence, human intelligence, signals intelligence, communications intelligence, measurements and signals intelligence? All these things have to be taken into account. That's why this problem is so hard. That's why we shouldn't scoff the notion of what Ms. Maloney and Mr. Lukemeyer are trying to do, because both sides of this are absolutely almost impossible to do unless we come together and find a way not only to protect small businesses, but to be able to kludge, correlate, and consolidate that data in a way that actually makes sense. There is not a one-size-fits-all for any company, and there's not a one-size-fits-all for the data, the node, and attribute issues that you're going to have for a database this big in the financial community. I would say first we should do some kind of study across all the agencies that are actually have the authorities, on their authorities, Title 18, Title 31, even National Guard with critical infrastructure data, Title 32. You have to look at the title authorities of all these communities also. Those are the things that I look at when I look at a problem like this. I appreciate the difficulty of it, and by the way, I sort of enjoy it. Thank you, and I yield my time.